Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com, now powered by lineups.com. Nate and Josh coming back to you guys. I am back. Nate's been around for a bit, but we've got the NBA finals ready to go. This episode, we're going to be taking a look at some previews for it, going to give you some futures and some look ahead bets, right? Some of these series prices that we're going to be playing, a couple player props, series long player props that we're looking at here. So definitely make sure to subscribe to that channel. Also want to make sure you check out game one, which we're going to have up for you guys here in a day or so as well. So definitely continue to follow along for the rest of these finals with us. Nate, I missed a bunch there in the conference finals, but I do know that both of these teams deserve to be here. But let's kick it off with your first look in this series.
Yeah, and congrats to Josh here with the birth of his firstborn and back just in time here for the NBA Finals. But yeah, we both had the same look here on these series prices, and I think a lot of people did because SGA series assist leader plus 300 as we were talking, basically. So everybody's looking at this and being like, yeah, the archetype of these two players is SGA scorer, Halliburton passer, but that's not the way this is going to shake out when you have basically a week of prep and these two coaching staffs thinking about how they want to make the other guy do what they don't do. And that's what OKC defense does so well, right? What we just saw with Ant Edwards was like, let's make Ant Edwards a playmaker and make him passive. And now we're going to get the exact opposite with Halliburton, where it's like, please go score. So, I mean, I think his series prop is 18.5 points per game or something like that. Yeah, maybe you want to go that route if you do have faith in him. I'm terrified personally when I see Mikal Bridges come out and give him trouble in these last two games just by being a little handsy and a little pressure, and like the officials not calling that he's just like hooking him and not letting him cut off the ball. Like, good Lord, what is Lou Dort and Alex Caruso going to do to this man? And I mean, they gave him plenty of trouble in the regular season. It was his lowest touch totals against any team against OKC. And there was the most recent meeting that was pretty telling for this, where they just forced Nembhard to do all the playmaking. 18 potential assists for Nembhard, 7 actual assists, and Hallie had 3 assists on 8 potentials, which might be a season low in terms of potential assists. I mean, this defense just held Jokic to 5.9 assists per game in an entire series. The man with counters for everything. Hallie, just the body type, not really going to give them as many problems. And if you think about SGA, I mean, pretty good assist totals against the Wolves, but I kind of compare this more to the Nuggets series where you're going to get a crafty coaching staff. You're probably going to get some zone mixed in, some different junk defenses because you don't have a one-on-one matchup against him. Certainly not if Neesmith's hobbled. Nembhard, great finish to the series against Brunson, but he's not going to be a problem for SGA. So I think Pacers are going to force him to spread the ball out, see if other guys can hit shots. And in that Nuggets series, he averaged 18 potentials a game, only got 6 assists per game due to some poor shooting there. But yeah, you're looking at the potentials here and thinking 3-1 on your money. I'll take the guy who has more opportunities for assists potentially.
Yep, 100%. And I'm looking at this going, well, like it's mostly about Hallie more than anything because it's not like it's made. The series isn't necessarily tailor made for like SGA to necessarily come in and just dime up. This is a team that doesn't give up a ton of dimes. As far as SGA goes, though, like even though it's not necessarily tailor-made for him to get dimes, like he's still going to be a guy that they can't afford to not pressure the ball out of his hands, right? We've seen everybody have to make adjustments in the Eastern Conference when they play Jalen Brunson. Maybe you're a Celtics and Pacers defense that doesn't want to double team people. Well, too bad. You got to come away from what you normally do and mix it up. And Carlisle, as good as his defense is at limiting assists and all the rest, he's going to mix it up as well. Like he has to force that ball out of SGA's hands. And like you said, you just can't do that with any of the one-on-one defenders. Like Neesmith and Nembhard, they have to be given the credit and the due at this point in the season for the Pacers, where we see when they're not there, Pacers not good. When they are there, Pacers very, very good, especially on defense. And so they're going to continue to be involved in a way that like they'll be the best they have on SGA, but not enough. So yeah, we looked at this the same way because 4-1 at first was like, that's silly. 3-1 is still a good price. Once you start to get below that, now we're losing the juice here in the edge that we probably have to take this bet. But this is just as much a fade of Hallie not necessarily being able to do what he wants when he wants, the way that he has against the other defenses that he's played so far in the playoffs, which all three are definitely nowhere close to this Thunder defense. But that's also why I don't think that there is a snowball's chance in hell that this Pacers team wins the series. I'm not going to do any silly things like I'll eat my shirt if I'm wrong or whatever. I know it's sports. Anything could happen. and I hate the Pacers, so I don't want to do this too much out of emotion. But I will say, like this, if you're an offense like the Pacers that relies entirely on the energy source of your offense being Halliburton, and to a degree other guys playing on the perimeter, because I don't think anybody's expecting Pascal to get the bulk of his points by just dominating down low. He's going to have to be crafty and work an inside out game as well. Problem is like, what are you supposed to do on the outside, right? You're talking about a defense that you mentioned Caruso and Dort. Didn't even bring up Kason Wallace yet because he's just a really, really, really nice to have, despite probably being a top 15 perimeter defender in the NBA in season 2 or whatever he's at right now. So like there's just a wealth, as we've said, of perimeter defenders. So, let's just start with this easy bet, 2.5 on the spread here. So we think they're going to win at least 4-1, right? If not a sweep there, minus 130 or so. If you're looking at this on most places, that's still a really good price for you. And the thing is going to be like the reason I would still give like the Pacers a shot at one game. They have these random games where Aaron Nesmith hits 8 threes in the fourth quarter, or right, like Nembhard is going off because there's good ball movement. I will say that. The problem is that ball movement is predicated on Halliburton beating the defense, right, off of a screen and roll. There has to be an imbalance in the defense for this to work, because Halliburton, skilled player, pretty good at finishing around the rim for someone his size. It's a lot of speed. It's a lot of like, this dude's not going to be as good at 36 as he is right now because of the lack, the sort of dependence that he has on being quicker and faster and being so good in space. There just isn't space to play against the number 1 transition defense in the league and the number 4 defense in the half court, which is why they're the number 1 defense in the league. And this team is relying too much, not only on, like I said, the space, but in the half court, but the space on the full court as well. And they're not going to be running full court presses against this OKC Thunder team to try to like throw them off. I'm sure they'll toss it in there and mix it in, but that was their dominant play against the Knicks, and that's why the Knicks the Pacers rather had 145 points off of turnovers in that series. Outscored them by like 100 in the turnover battle. I just don't see that happening here in this one for an OKC team that is doing a lot of the same stuff that Indy does, right? Like it's just way better, right? When it comes to turnovers, transition, points off of turnovers, limiting turnovers on offense for yourself. These are the top 2 teams at that in the playoffs. Well, who would you rather have doing that, right? In this situation here, again, Nembhard, Nesmith, super duper, insanely important for this team on defense and in general, if they have a shot. That worries me because you've got like just twice as many guys as that can do it and do it better than those 2 can on the other side. I just think it's 2 teams that are coming together, trying to do very similar things, and one is damn near exponentially better at it than the other one.
Yeah, man. Every advantage is basically Thunder, except maybe the veteran coach. So Carlisle maybe mucks it up and gets a game. But this is the way to hedge so that you're covered for a sweep, which is why it's minus 130. I actually thought it would get shorter. I mean, I bet this before the Pacers even closed out the Knicks and at minus 140. And so surprised that now this is easy. I think because there is so much action on this exact result, right? On Thunder to win 4-1, which every analyst, every podcast I've listened to, that's the prediction. It's just like, how can you not? Like, they're going to close this thing out at home. Pacers are going to split one in Indy. So if you think that's going to happen, I mean, you could try to pick off which game the Pacers win and get plus 680 for them to just win game 3, plus 880 for them to just win game 4, and OKC to take the rest of them, sort of following that Wolves series formula where the Thunder, just as a young team, they might come out slow on the road and just drop one, just a stinker there in Minnesota one time. I mean, they basically needed a perfect game from SGA in game 4 to beat the Wolves, though. So I mean, there is a certain home road splits scenario here where the Thunder just like, are they ready for this? Like they on paper, they should cruise, but they're 23-year-old kids mostly. Like, so this ain't on paper. I mean, maybe there is some value to say this thing goes exactly 6 or, to take the Pacers at plus 2.5. If you're not going to take the exact score, I know you started with this at Thunder 4-1. How do you feel about that when you think about the difference in the odds between minus 130 and plus 210?
It gets me close. I do think this should be closer to 3-1. I think any exact result should be a lot closer to 3-1. And a sweep is pretty much that across the board. But I'm giving the Pacers the benefit of the doubt. I don't know if it's 3 or 4, and it's just sort of the cliche. But I do see a situation where like this team it does have that sort of heart and hustle aspect that you can't really take away from them. I mean, to be able to come back from deficits, to be able to just always feel like they're in the game, to just always be positive, even if they're down 20 points in the second or third quarter. Like you can't take that away from them. And then you're going to have a game in Indy where Neesmith hits a bunch of threes, like I said, and Obi is unstoppable all of a sudden. And TJ McConnell is hitting every mid-range, and they're going to shoot 63% in 2 of the 4 quarters in one of those games. And that's just going to be what it is. But I don't like that to be the norm over the course of a 5-game series, as I like it to be. And we're just really trying to hunt value at this point, because when we play these series long bets, like, all right, if it's something is as like seemingly, we get a lot of outs with the them to win by more than 2.5 games, for instance, right? The previous bet we talked about, there's a lot of outs there, but I don't want to bet that many minus 130s over the course of a 7-game series. I'll just bet them to win every game. I'll just bet like, the money line or an alt spread, even 9.5 points. Like that, might as well just take something like that and roll it over before I start to look at too many minus odd bets that are going to be of that elk. But yeah, I just think it comes down to like one team trying to generate offense from the guards, and that's it. And if they don't have it, getting the ball down low is completely dependent on the defense, once again, being imbalanced. And I just think these guys for OKC are going to stay home a lot, other than when when Hallie has the ball. And then go ahead, Nembhard and Neesmith, Nembhard and Pascal, really go ahead and beat us as the primary ball handlers once we just take Hallie out of the equation. So I'm still liking this bet for sure.
You goddamn right Pascal's going to beat them. 19.5 points per game for the series. It's slightly plus money for him to average that. And yeah, I mean, this is the guy you go to probably on a game-by-game basis. We're probably going to circle back to this, but when you see the pressure extended on Tyrese Halliburton, you expect Pascal Siakam to get the ball in favorable situations to step up. I mean, this series will probably get more chaotic as it goes along. More mucked up. Like even if it's fast paced, like it's just not going to be clean. Like every pass everyone's going to be off balance. Like passes are going to be to weird spots. And Siakam's kind of a guy who just thrives in that. He's always falling over. Like I laugh with you that he gets out of bed going, "Hey," for a foul as he does that spin move. And he's going to get to the line though. The way OKC is so handsy. They don't have a fantastic matchup for him. Is like the one guy. I mean, Chet will probably guard him a lot. I think this, as the series gets smaller, those two guys might be the 5 for a lot of crunch time minutes. Mm-hmm. But I mean, in his last 2 opportunities against Chet, didn't come this season, but 72% true shooting and 10 for 12 free throw attempts. It averaged about 20 in these regular season matchups. So it's not like Chet was shutting him down. I mean, he's not a guy who gets blocked too often, which is obviously Chet's bread and butter. And I mean, Pascal, like basically the simple way to put it is like his playoff floor is like 17, 18 points. His playoff ceiling, which we saw multiple times, is 30 plus. That's why he averaged 21 in these playoffs. He averaged 22 in last playoffs. So I mean, for him to get to 20 over the course of a series when we expect like Halliburton to just have all these hands and eyes on him constantly, seems like, Siakam's going to be the one to step up.
I concur. I do. I mean, he's going to have to hit a couple of threes here and there, but I think we're going to see a lot of him as the Draymond Green imbalanced offense. He when Steph was getting doubled and he found Draymond right away and blah, 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 right? 4-on-3 at that point with Pascal. Maybe consider some assists. I guess it's juiced already. So maybe I'm not the first person to think of that because I was already thinking of that for him and for Nembhard as well. And I don't know, I didn't see any bets of being able to fade Miles Turner. Maybe you found one of those, but for the love of all that's holy, I'm going to be fading that big man in this one. When you look at his history versus this team versus these types of teams, very easily see him getting played off the floor, because if you're going to be 7'1" and not get a ton of rebounds, which by the way, his prop is at 5.5 boards for a center in a finals game who's expected to play 35 minutes. that tells you where he's standing on the floor. So yeah, there's no real value in this series in a lot of these series bets when it comes to leading the series in points or rebounds or whatever, right? It's pretty obvious right now who's going to be doing what. It's hard to get somebody else to have more points than SGA, more threes than Hallie, for instance. Like maybe those are the markets you could find, but I think if you're able to find individual player props like this for the series long stuff, then Pascal is going to be a good one, and I like him to do like PRA is going to be on the floor for him each game, and we'll see if he comes out strong. But interestingly too, last thing I'll say here is to close things out, do you not think like OKC's young, man? Game 1, first finals for most of them except for Caruso. Things are going to be tight. Very, very, very tight. And I could easily see the Pacers playing a lot more loosely, maybe winning the first quarter, but losing the game, or just to take them in the first quarter, that type of stuff for game 1. I know we're going to talk about that stuff more, but game 1 is always the one where you go, this is the one that could be stolen right away if it just sort of taken by surprise. And I would not be in a rush to bet 9.5 for the very young OKC squad versus Carlisle and the boys in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's the trend, is like when you are this big a favorite, you do kind of blow doors off them. But yeah, this Pacers team has bucked plenty of trends on the way here. I think you're onto something, though. I mean, we'll get into it more with the game 1 show, but Pacers to hang around early, which could just be like first quarter overs and just be like, look, we're here, we're hitting shots. Like that's the way the Pacers kind of ease into these games. It's just like, oh man, Nembhard hitting every single mid-range he throws up. And just to touch on what you said with Turner, yeah, I haven't found any unders, any like of the over under for him particular. I mean, they took a lot of these off the board. If you have a book that offers more of an array of the over under for the series long stats, that is something to definitely attack. I think there's a reason they took him away, is because you can find a guy you're like, he's not going to have a consistent series by any means, and that was kind of a moneymaker the last couple of years when you get into these late series. But now, you've got to really find value somewhere else.
Yep, that's just how it is. And no reason to force anything either. Like, if it's not a good bet, don't make it, man. It's that simple. Check out the WNBA or some MLB before you just start throwing things around because you have to bet on the NBA. Just a little friendly disclosure as well. But that's all the time we have for you in our preview here for this NBA Finals 2025 edition. Definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. Give that video a like. Continue to follow along. We are going to be back with our game 1 stuff here for you guys by, I believe, Wednesday. We'll have that video up for you guys to get ahead of that Thursday game. So until we see you then, happy betting.